The clip doesn't begin politely. It drops you straight into tension already humming through the studio, the kind that makes audiences lean forward before they know why. A laugh cuts too sharp. A comment follows, careless and smug, framed as humor, but landing like a slap. Barron Trump smirks, tilts his head, and delivers the line that instantly freezes the air. A remark meant to diminish, to needle, to remind everyone watching who he believes holds the upper hand. The host blinks, caught off guard. For half a second, even the cameras seem unsure where to look. The words hang there, louder than they should be, heavier than intended. This isn't scripted banter. This isn't playful provocation. This is mockery, broadcast live, and the room knows it. Jasmine Crockett doesn't react the way people expect. No eye roll. No snapback. She doesn't interrupt. She simply looks forward, expression calm, almost distant, as if she's measuring something invisible. That silence is unsettling. It stretches just long enough to make the audience uncomfortable, long enough for the power dynamic to wobble. Phones begin lighting up across the country. You can almost hear the collective buzz as notifications stack up. Clips are already being cut, captions drafted in real time. Viewers sense they're witnessing something raw, something that won't survive spin or cleanup. This moment is escaping the studio, multiplying second by second. Barron shifts in his seat, still smiling, unaware the tone has shifted against him. The host clears their throat, attempting to regain control, but the rhythm is gone. What was supposed to be a light exchange has turned brittle, sharp at the edges. Everyone feels it. Something has gone wrong. The camera lingers, and in that lingering, a choice presents itself. This could become another viral insult, another fleeting outrage, or it could become something else entirely. The audience holds its breath, sensing the turn before it arrives, sensing that the silence isn't weakness, it's restraint. Across social feeds, reactions split instantly, outrage colliding with disbelief, supporters and critics typing at the same frantic speed. Some defend the joke, others name it for what it is, a glimpse of entitlement exposed under studio lights. The energy shifts from entertainment to reckoning. Viewers sense history doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers, right before it detonates. This feels like one of those moments people remember exactly where they were watching. But what Barron didn't realize was that he had just challenged the one person in the room who never blinks. This moment mattered because it exposed something deeper than a joke. Live television is supposed to soften edges, to turn conflict into performance and disagreement into spectacle. But when that comment landed, the illusion cracked, and what rushed through was raw power on display, unfiltered and unapologetic. On live TV, words vanish as quickly as they're spoken, or at least they used to. Now every syllable is permanent, clipped, shared, and replayed by millions who were never meant to be in the room. A moment meant for dominance suddenly belongs to everyone. This is why the tension felt electric. Age, privilege, power, gender, and race were all present in that studio, layered invisibly into a single exchange. A young man raised inside political royalty, mocking a black congresswoman who earned her seat through struggle, is never just banter. For some viewers, it echoed moments they've lived themselves, being talked down to, laughed at, or dismissed with a smile that pretends innocence. For others, it revealed how casually respect can be withdrawn when someone assumes immunity from consequences. People weren't watching for policy breakdowns or partisan soundbites. They were watching to see whether power would be challenged or indulged, whether dignity would be defended or sacrificed for entertainment. The stakes felt personal because they were. Across the country, viewers projected themselves into that chair opposite Barron Trump. Immigrants, women, people of color, and anyone who has ever been underestimated recognized the setup instantly. This wasn't about who talked louder. It was about who would hold the line. The silence from Jasmine Crockett became the center of gravity. Every second, she waited, sharpened the question hanging in the air. Would she play along, deflect, or respond with something no one could ignore? Comment sections began to split before she even spoke. Defenders rushed in, critics circled, and undecided viewers leaned closer to their screens. The country was bracing for impact, sensing that whatever came next would ripple far beyond the studio. Live broadcasts turned private assumptions into public tests. There is no editing bay, no cleanup crew, no apology tour that can rewind the first impression. Viewers understand this instinctively, which is why their reactions felt so immediate and so fierce. They knew they were witnessing a fork in the story, the kind that decides whether a moment fades or becomes a marker people reference for years. The atmosphere wasn't just tense, it was expectant, like a crowd sensing a storm break just over the horizon. This was the collision viewers have been waiting for, even if they didn't know it yet. Not a shouting match, not a meme, but a test of character under pressure. In a political culture addicted to volume, restraint can feel radical. The audience sensed that restraint gathering, coiling, preparing to strike with precision instead of noise. Every glance, every breath, every half-smile carried weight. The room had stopped moving forward and started holding still, waiting to see whether this exchange would confirm old hierarchies or crack them open. The answer was coming, and it was coming calmly. That anticipation is what made the moment dangerous. Silence became a mirror, reflecting back every bias and expectation the audience carried with them. When power pauses, people lean in because they know something decisive is about to happen, and they don't want to miss it. History rarely announces itself clearly, but everyone could feel its shadow stretching across the screen in real time together. In moments like this, narratives harden quickly. Heroes and villains are sketched in real time, often before the facts fully settle. And as the seconds ticked by, one truth became unavoidable. Before Jasmine Crockett said a single word, America was already choosing sides. The antagonist in this story isn't introduced with villain music or raised voices. He arrives wrapped in familiarity, framed by a last name that carries instant recognition and assumed authority. Barron Trump has been portrayed by media as composed, aloof, and untouchable, a figure protected by lineage and the soft glow of inherited relevance. That framing creates an expectation. Confidence without consequence, presence without accountability. On camera, that confidence reads as ease. He leans back slightly, shoulders relaxed, smile ready. It's the posture of someone accustomed to being watched, accustomed to attention that rarely pushes back. The mockery doesn't arrive as a shout or an insult. It slips out disguised as humor, a line delivered with a grin meant to signal harmlessness. This is how arrogance survives scrutiny, by pretending to be playful. But the body language tells a different story. The glance toward the audience, the quick check for approval, the way his hands move just a little too often. These are tells, not of fear, but of performance. He isn't speaking to Jasmine Crockett. He's speaking past her, to viewers he assumes are already on his side. That assumption is the shield legacy provides. It teaches you that laughter will come. That benefit of the doubt is automatic. Media coverage has long reinforced this protection. Headlines soften moments like this into curiosity pieces, into personality quirks, into youthful confidence. What rarely gets examined is how easily that confidence slips into condescension, how often humor becomes a weapon when power feels secure. In this moment, the joke lands downward, not outward. That distinction matters. Watch closely, and the cracks begin to appear even before a response is offered. After the line lands, there's a pause, just long enough for uncertainty to creep in. His smile holds, but it tightens. He shifts in his seat, adjusts his posture, as if recalibrating. The room doesn't react the way he anticipated. Laughter is thinner. Approval is not immediate. This is the danger zone for performative confidence. When applause doesn't arrive on cue, the performer must decide whether to double down or retreat. Barron attempts to smooth the moment with another half-smile, another casual shrug. It reads as nonchalance, but it carries an edge of impatience. He wants the exchange to move on. He wants control back. The antagonist frame sharpens here because it's subtle. There's no overt cruelty, no dramatic outburst to point to. Instead, there is the quiet certainty that mockery will go unchallenged. The belief that some people are allowed to speak freely while others are expected to absorb the impact with grace. That belief is the real antagonistic force, more than any single sentence spoken. Viewers sense this instinctively. Disapproval builds not from outrage, but from recognition. They've seen this dynamic before in classrooms, boardrooms, interviews, and panels where power hides behind charm. Skepticism grows as the gap between media image and lived behavior widens. The carefully maintained aura begins to flicker. Another glance toward the host. Another subtle movement, a foot tapping now, barely noticeable but persistent. Confidence thrives on affirmation, and in its absence, it starts to wobble. The joke that was meant to establish dominance has instead created vulnerability. The spotlight feels harsher now, less friendly. This is where the antagonist unknowingly overplays his hand. By assuming safety, he reveals fragility. By leaning on legacy, he exposes a lack of grounding. The audience doesn't need a rebuttal, yet to feel the imbalance. They can see it forming, a quiet reversal waiting for a catalyst. Because across from him sits someone who has navigated far more hostile rooms than this. Someone who has endured dismissal without cameras, condescension without applause, and pressure without protection. The contrast is already there, etched into the silence between them. What makes this framing unavoidable is how ordinary it feels. Nothing about the exchange looks extraordinary at first glance. And that ordinariness is precisely the problem. Entitlement rarely announces itself loudly. It settles into habits, into expectations, into the casual assumption that the room will bend. In moments like this, power reveals itself not through aggression, but through ease, through the confidence that consequences belong to someone else. Viewers recognize that ease, and many have spent their lives pushing against it, waiting for the moment when it finally meets resistance. That anticipation hums beneath the surface now, a collective awareness that the balance has already shifted, even if no one has spoken yet in this room tonight. But the calm woman sitting across from him had survived far worse than mockery. Jasmine Crockett sits at the center of this moment, not because she demands attention, but because she understands it. Her presence is quiet, deliberate, earned. She has spent years in rooms where power tested her patience, where preparation mattered more than volume. Law trained her to listen before she speaks, to measure words like evidence, to recognize when silence holds leverage. Public service hardened that discipline, teaching her that respect is not requested, it is demonstrated. In the studio, she is not surprised by condescension. She has already mapped the terrain, and she knows exactly where the fault lines run. Her background is often summarized in credentials, but the real story lives beneath them. A Black woman navigating systems never built with her in mind learns quickly how to read a room. She learns when to speak, when to wait, and when waiting is its own form of resistance. Jasmine Crockett carries that knowledge effortlessly. It shows in her posture, straight but relaxed, grounded rather than guarded. While others perform confidence for cameras, hers is internal, reinforced by battles already fought. She does not rush to prove herself, because she knows survival required excellence long before applause ever arrived there. Silence, for her, is not uncertainty. It is strategy refined through experience. In legal settings, pauses expose weakness, invite mistakes, and create space for truth to surface. Jasmine Crockett understands this instinctively. As Barron's words echo, she lets them settle, lets their weight become undeniable. Viewers misread the stillness as restraint, but it is control. She is not deciding what to say. She already knows. She is deciding when the moment will belong to her. Each second she waits increases the contrast, sharpening the impact she intends to deliver. Calculated, precise, patient, unwavering, deliberate, measured, focused, steady, intentional, exact, composed. The contrast in the room grows more pronounced with every frame. Across from performative confidence sits something sturdier, something forged under pressure. Barron relies on momentum, on laughter, on the assumption that charm will carry him through. Jasmine relies on preparation. Her calm does not seek approval. It does not scan the audience. It remains anchored. This is the difference between being comfortable in power and being accountable to it. She has learned that dignity is not loud. It endures. The longer she waits, the clearer the imbalance becomes, and the audience begins to sense who actually holds command here. Her life has demanded this composure. As a lawyer, she learned how narratives are weaponized, how tone is policed, how anger is punished when it comes for certain bodies. As a public servant, she learned patience with systems that move slowly while scrutiny moves fast. These lessons converge now. She is not reacting emotionally because emotion has always been used against people like her. Instead, she is choosing precision. That choice unsettles those accustomed to dominance without challenge. It transforms the room into a classroom, and she into the one holding the lesson plan with clarity, authority, and purpose now. Viewers feel the shift even if they cannot name it. Admiration begins to replace anxiety. Empowerment stirs in people who recognize this posture, who have practiced it themselves in hostile spaces. Jasmine Crockett is not performing resilience. She's embodying it. Her restraint reframes the exchange, exposing how thin bravado looks beside discipline. The narrative quietly pivots. This is no longer about a comment. It is about who has earned the right to speak with authority. The audience senses that when she speaks, it will not be reactive. It will be decisive, measured, intentional, unmistakable, controlled, powerful, steady, exacting, final. Underestimation has followed her career, and she has learned to let it. Assumptions create openings. When opponents misjudge her calm as softness, they lower their guard. That is when she operates best. Jasmine Crockett understands timing the way musicians understand silence between notes. She knows when tension has peaked, when attention has fully settled, when a message will land cleanly. This patience is not passive. It is active, intentional, and deeply strategic. She is not waiting for permission. She is waiting for inevitability, for the moment when speaking becomes unavoidable and impact becomes irreversible for everyone watching closely now together. The empowerment viewers feel comes from recognition. They see someone who refuses to contort herself to be palatable, who does not rush to soothe discomfort she did not create. Jasmine's strength validates their own experiences, reminding them that dignity can be an act of defiance. Her presence says you do not owe instant explanations, laughter, or forgiveness to disrespect. You owe yourself clarity. As the seconds stretch, anticipation thickens. The room has tilted toward her without her lifting a finger. The audience knows a line is about to be crossed, not by her, but by history itself on live television. Everything converges here, in the pause before her gaze shifts. Years of discipline, countless rooms survived, every lesson about power and restraint aligned behind her eyes. This is the moment she has been prepared for, even if she never expected it to look like this. The studio waits. Viewers lean in. Breath is held. When Jasmine Crockett finally lifts her eyes, it is not dramatic, yet changes the temperature instantly. The calm sharpens into focus. The space feels smaller, quieter, ready. And when she finally looked up, the entire room felt it together, immediately, unmistakably, forever, collectively, silently, completely. The temperature in the studio shifts from tense to awkward in a matter of seconds. Barron senses the silence pressing in and chooses the instinct he knows best, doubling down. He adds a follow-up remark, lighter in tone, sharper underneath, trying to reclaim the laugh that never fully arrived. The smile stays on his face, but it is now working harder, stretched thin by the absence of affirmation. A few scattered chuckles ripple through the room, then die out almost immediately. They sound polite, obligated, and painfully short. The host attempts to smooth the moment, interjecting with a half-joke, but the timing is off. The rhythm is broken. What should have been banter now feels like interruption layered on discomfort. Cameras cut to the audience, faces caught between curiosity and unease, eyebrows raised, lips pressed together. Barron shifts again, leaning forward this time, as if proximity might restore control. His voice grows a touch faster, a touch louder. Confidence begins to curdle into insistence. He gestures with his hands, filling the silence he can no longer command. Each movement reads as effort, each word carrying the faint edge of impatience. He is no longer teasing. He is performing damage control. The host glances between guests, clearly searching for an exit ramp that does not exist. A nervous laugh slips out, then another attempt to redirect the conversation. It fails. The studio is no longer following a script. The audience senses it, and so does Barron. His eyes flick briefly toward Jasmine, then away, as if checking whether she will finally engage. She does not. She remains still, composed, listening. That stillness becomes unbearable. The longer she waits, the more exposed he appears. Forced smiles replace genuine ones. His posture tightens. A foot taps against the floor, subtle but relentless. Viewers watching from home feel the secondhand embarrassment creeping in, the familiar discomfort of witnessing someone overextend without realizing it. The moment stretches past its expiration point, and everyone knows it. Barron tries again, reframing his comment, insisting on intention, insisting it was misunderstood. The explanation only deepens the hole. Each clarification adds weight to what he wants to escape. The audience reacts with quiet murmurs, small shifts in seats, eyes darting toward Jasmine, then back to him. The power dynamic has inverted without announcement. He is now responding to silence instead of commanding the room. The host finally stops smiling. Their hands tighten around the cue cards. This is the tell. Control has slipped. Live television offers no rewind, no reset. The cameras linger too long on faces that cannot hide their discomfort. The energy has turned brittle, fragile, one wrong word away from shattering entirely. Jasmine still hasn't spoken. Her restraint amplifies the imbalance. Every second she withholds her response sharpens the contrast between discipline and desperation. Barron's words now sound smaller, less certain, echoing in a space that no longer supports them. The audience senses the impending shift, the moment when pressure finally finds release. Viewers at home feel their shoulders tense in unison, anticipating the release while dreading it at the same time. This is the kind of moment that exposes character more than conviction, revealing who knows how to sit with discomfort and who panics inside it. Barron's attempts to recover begin to overlap, sentences stepping on each other, clarity slipping away. What once sounded playful now feels defensive, almost pleading, though he never quite realizes it himself. The studio lights seem harsher, the air heavier, the pauses longer than they should be. Audience members exchange glances, silently negotiating what they are witnessing. Some look away, others stare harder, unable to disengage. This is no longer entertainment. It is exposure. The laughter promised by mockery has evaporated, replaced by a collective awareness that something irreversible is unfolding, and no one can interrupt it now. The silence grows heavier, pressing against every word that follows relentlessly now. Then Jasmine Crockett spoke, and nothing was the same after that. Jasmine Crockett finally speaks, and the room doesn't erupt, it contracts. Her voice is steady, unhurried, almost conversational, cutting through the tension without feeding it. She doesn't look at Barron with anger or amusement, but with clarity, as if she's naming something obvious that others missed. The power of the moment comes from restraint. She acknowledges the comment, not defensively, but factually, reframing it as a reflection of values rather than personalities. In that instant, the exchange stops being about humor and becomes about respect, responsibility, and a standard we choose to accept on live television for everyone watching now. She doesn't insult him because she doesn't need to. Instead, she explains how mockery works, how it signals comfort with power rather than confidence in ideas. Her tone is calm, almost instructional, which makes it devastating. She speaks about dignity not as an abstract ideal, but as a daily practice, especially for people who never receive the benefit of the doubt. Each sentence lands softly and stays. The audience begins to realize this isn't a clapback. It's a mirror, held steady and impossible to ignore in moments like this, live and unedited before millions watching together right now everywhere worldwide. Barron tries to interject, but Jasmine continues, not louder, just firmer. She reframes the moment as a choice about whether public platforms will normalize disrespect or demand accountability. The shift is subtle but total. He corrects himself mid-sentence, then again, searching for a foothold. His earlier ease is gone, replaced by hurried explanations and nervous laughter. Viewers watch confidence drain in real time, replaced by confusion he cannot disguise as cameras linger, hosts hesitate, and silence grows heavier, sharper, exposing the imbalance everyone now clearly sees unfolding slowly, painfully, publicly tonight, together, everywhere, live now on screen. She never names him as a villain. She doesn't have to. By centering values, she removes his ability to spar. This is moral framing, not personal attack. She speaks about service, about responsibility that comes with a microphone, about the difference between being heard and being worthy of listening. The studio feels smaller, quieter. Even the host stops moving. Barron nods reflexively, then realizes the nod concedes more than he intended, and the audience senses the lesson landing, unavoidable, irreversible, reshaping the moment into something larger, lasting, instructive, and impossible to spin later anywhere else again publicly ever after tonight. Her delivery never spikes, and that is what breaks him. He attempts humor again, then stops. He asks for clarification, then interrupts himself. The host tries to step in, but Jasmine's composure commands a space. This isn't dominance through volume. It's authority through preparation. She explains how dignity survives mockery, how accountability outlasts arrogance. Each word is measured, intentional, leaving no opening for theatrics, only reflection that forces viewers to reconsider power, speech, and respect without shouting, spectacle, or cruelty, right there on live television together, watching, learning, absorbing the shift as it happens quietly now, in real time everywhere. Barron's body language collapses inward. He leans back, then forward, hands clasped, unclasped. He corrects a phrase she never challenged, backtracks on intent, and asks the host to move on. It sounds like pleading. The audience reacts with a collective intake of breath. The power dynamic has fully reversed. Jasmine does not press harder. She lets the truth sit, trusting it to do the work she doesn't need to, because accountability once spoken clearly cannot be unsaid, unheard, or ignored, especially when millions witness it unfolding calmly, precisely, without rage, excuses, or retreat tonight, together, watching live on screen everywhere. This is the mic drop, not because it is flashy, but because it is final. Jasmine reframes the entire exchange as a lesson, not a fight. She invites viewers to expect better, from leaders, from media, from themselves. Vindication ripples through the audience watching at home. People who recognize this tone, this patience, this refusal to shrink, are replaces outrage. The room feels changed, like something essential has been corrected in public without spectacle, without cruelty, through clarity, restraint, and truth, reminding everyone why dignity still matters now, here tonight together, watching, listening, learning quietly, collectively across the country live. Barron remains silent now, eyes darting, posture stiff. He nods again, smaller this time, conceding without words. The host finally exhales, attempting transition, but the moment resists closure. Jasmine's words linger, heavier than sound bites. They settle into viewers' minds, shared instantly across platforms. This is how narratives flip, not through shouting, but through undeniable clarity delivered at exactly the right moment, when preparation meets pressure and integrity confronts entitlement publicly, leaving no room for excuses, spin, or denial. As millions absorb the shift, recognizing the lesson unfolding calmly before them now. Together, watching live, unfiltered, undeniable, historic, tonight, everywhere. The awe comes from witnessing power exercised responsibly. Jasmine doesn't claim victory. She creates space for accountability to stand on its own. Viewers feel seen, validated, strengthened by the example. This is not about winning an argument. It is about modeling how to respond when dignity is tested. The emotional release is quiet but profound, settling deep in the audience's collective chest as relief replaces tension, and admiration settles in, reminding them that calm strength can still move mountains without noise, spectacle, or cruelty, even under lights, pressure, and scrutiny. Tonight, together, watching, learning, live, now, everywhere across America again. No one interrupts her ending because it feels complete. Barron sits frozen, recalculating, while the host hesitates, aware the audience is no longer theirs to steer. The studio exists in aftermath. Viewers know they have witnessed something that will travel far beyond this broadcast. The reckoning has already begun, quietly, decisively, without chaos, and it cannot be undone because the clip is already spreading, screenshotted, captioned, and shared, carrying her calm words into homes, timelines, and conversations everywhere, reshaping perception faster than anyone planned, expected, or controlled. Tonight, together, watching, live, as it happens right now, everywhere, online, offline, permanently. And in that final silence, something else shifts. Barron searches for footing, but the ground has moved. Control is gone. The cameras keep rolling, and viewers lean closer, knowing this moment has escaped its creators. The response has landed, the narrative rewritten. And while Barron struggles to regain control, adjusting his posture, glancing toward the host, hoping for interruption, the truth continues spreading beyond the studio, because the internet has already decided with speed, certainty, and judgment, sealing the moment into history, replayed, debated, and remembered. Long after the lights fade, the broadcast ends, and explanations fail. Tonight, together, everywhere. The clip escapes the studio before the broadcast even ends. Phones vibrate, timelines refresh, and within minutes the moment is no longer contained by a single network or time slot. It belongs to the internet now, moving faster than producers, faster than spin, faster than explanation. Hashtags surge to the top of trending lists, names locked together in all caps, clipped into captions that frame the story before anyone can rewrite it. Viewers who felt the tension moments earlier now feel release. Comment sections flood with recognition and relief. People replay the silence, the composure, the unraveling. Short clips loop endlessly, each replay sharpening the contrast. Influencers pause their usual content to weigh in, praising restraint, calling it a masterclass, naming what they just watched without hesitation. Political commentators who thrive on chaos suddenly sound reverent. They slow down, choose words carefully, aware this moment demands seriousness. Memes follow quickly, but even they carry a different tone. Instead of mockery aimed at the response, the humor flips direction. Screenshots capture Barron's shifting posture, his searching glances, the moment his confidence fractures. Side by side, comparisons circulate, labeling the contrast without cruelty, letting the images speak for themselves. Remixes appear, pairing Jasmine's calm words with swelling music, with quiet pauses, with captions that read like affirmations. The internet recognizes dignity when it sees it. Politicians join the chorus, some cautiously, others boldly. Statements appear praising leadership, composure, accountability. A few attempt neutrality, but neutrality feels thin here. Silence is interpreted as avoidance. Alignment becomes visible not through declarations, but through what people choose to amplify. The clip spreads across ideological lines, but the reaction is lopsided. Even critics concede the shift. The narrative has flipped, and it flips completely. Barron's attempts to recover become part of the story. His corrections, his request to move on, his visible discomfort are replayed on loop. What once looked like control now reads as pleading. The internet has a way of freezing moments at their most honest, and this one is preserved from every angle. Each replay strips away context he might have hoped for, leaving only what happened plainly visible, undeniable. For viewers who felt dismissed in their own lives, this becomes more than a viral clip. It feels like vindication shared at scale. Group chats light up with links and timestamps. Captions read, "This is how you respond. This is what strength looks like." Collective validation pulses through timelines, not loud but steady. People feel seen, affirmed, less alone in their expectations of respect. News cycles scramble to keep up. Panels rewatch the exchange frame by frame. Analysts dissect tone, posture, pauses. But the audience is already ahead. They don't need explanation. They felt it in real time. The power of the moment lies in its clarity. No scandal to investigate. No quote to contextualize. Just a public reckoning that played out cleanly, calmly, and could not be undone. The clip crosses borders, cultures, languages. Subtitles appear. Reaction videos stack into the thousands. Each one reinforces the same conclusion. This wasn't about a joke. It was about accountability, meeting preparation under pressure. The internet rewards moments that feel true, and this one does. Algorithms amplify it because people do. Engagement isn't forced. It's eager, organic, relentless. As the hours pass, attempts to redirect attention fail. News stories break, louder controversies emerge, but the clip holds its ground. It resurfaces repeatedly, stitched into conversations about leadership, respect, and public discourse. The moment refuses to fade because it answered a question people didn't know they were asking until they saw it answered so clearly. Collective validation settles into something sturdier than outrage. It becomes confidence. Viewers recognize that something shifted, not just for one broadcast, but for how these moments can unfold. The internet has spoken decisively, and it has chosen dignity over bravado, composure over entitlement. The clip keeps spreading, not because it shocks anymore, but because it affirms. But the real impact wasn't online. It was what this moment symbolized. The tension, the silence, the viral clip, they all lead here to something larger than one exchange on live television. What unfolded was more than a moment of embarrassment or triumph. It was a lesson in values, in the quiet force of discipline meeting entitlement head-on. Jasmine Crockett's response reframed the incident not as a personal victory, but as a demonstration of what leadership looks like when rooted in principle rather than ego. Dignity, it became clear, always outlasts arrogance. Barron's smirk, his mockery, his desperate corrections, all of it faded in the light of composure and preparation. Calm strength is contagious. It commands attention not by shouting, but by demonstrating that respect is not earned through performance alone. It is reinforced through consistency, clarity, and courage. Viewers saw that in Jasmine, and they recognized it in themselves. The lesson was simple, but profound. No amount of inherited privilege or performative confidence can outweigh disciplined integrity. Preparation matters more than pedigree. Jasmine had anticipated every angle, every possible interruption, every attempt to destabilize her. Her silence was strategic, her timing impeccable. Her words landed with authority because they were measured, precise, and purposeful. Privilege offers a head start, but preparation creates endurance. In this exchange, endurance won. And for a nation that often watches power wielded recklessly, that lesson resonated deeply. Calm strength doesn't just outlast mockery, it transforms it. The laughter that was meant to belittle became a mirror reflecting entitlement and expectation. The audience, both live and online, saw that mockery has limits when faced with accountability. It is not enough to be loud. One must also be grounded. Jasmine's presence reframed what the audience expected from leadership, from public discourse, and from the standards of civility and respect that guide a community, a workplace, or a nation. Her example quietly demanded that the bar be raised for everyone, regardless of platform or lineage. In a world saturated with conflict and spectacle, this moment provided a blueprint. Leadership is not defined by the size of your voice or the flash of your gestures. It is measured by the depth of your preparation, the steadiness of your principles, and the clarity of your character under pressure. Jasmine Crockett modeled this perfectly. She demonstrated that leadership rooted in integrity commands loyalty, admiration, and influence far more effectively than intimidation or privilege ever could. Progressive audiences, immigrant communities, and anyone who has been underestimated or dismissed recognize themselves in this example. The moment validated the belief that resilience, preparation, and quiet courage are the true markers of strength. Pride swelled, not only for the individual performance, but for what it symbolized. A culture in which dignity and accountability can prevail even when confronted with entitlement, mockery, and the immediacy of live scrutiny. This is why the moment mattered beyond the clip. It was a microcosm of the kind of leadership needed today, measured, principled, and unwavering even in the most chaotic circumstances. It reminds viewers that character is visible in how one handles challenge, that influence is earned through action rather than assertion, and that calm, decisive strength shapes perception and inspires others long after the camera stops rolling. In that moment, America didn't just witness a clapback, it witnessed character. What started as a mocking comment on live television became something far greater, a lesson in dignity, preparation, and the quiet strength that shapes not just moments, but movements. Jasmine Crockett's calm, precise response didn't just win the exchange. It reframed the conversation. It reminded the nation that composure under pressure, integrity over ego, and principle over performative confidence matter more than any viral joke or fleeting insult. This was more than a personal victory. It was a moral victory for everyone who has ever been underestimated, dismissed, or spoken over. It validated the idea that respect is not demanded through volume or pedigree, but earned through action, resilience, and measured courage. By standing firm, Jasmine set a precedent, modeling leadership that holds itself accountable while uplifting the values of honesty, dignity, and fairness. Now, the question moves from the studio to the audience. How will you respond when faced with mockery, entitlement, or injustice? Every share, every comment, every conversation sparked by this moment becomes part of a larger cultural shift. By engaging, you amplify the message that leadership rooted in principle matters, that dignity cannot be silenced, and that moments of courage can ripple far beyond a single broadcast. This is your invitation to participate. Reflect, share, and discuss what you've witnessed. Stand for the power of preparation over privilege, of calm strength over bluster, and of integrity over performance. Inspire others to recognize that their voice, their poise, and their principles carry weight. Together, small actions build collective influence, and viral moments become movements. Because in the end, power doesn't shout. It speaks, and the world listens.